there. There's no application fees at all. Okay, there's no setup fees, nothing like that. There's no facility fees, so you don't need to worry about, oh, monthly you can be charged any kind of account keeping fees, things like that. That won't be charged either. I've used an example here of just drawing $5,000. So let's say you drew the entire $5,000 to do, I guess, the flights, the incidental costs, or, you know, I will mention that this facility is available not just to, I guess, if you needed to go on an elective. A common one we also see is, I guess, if you wanted to consolidate your debts. If you wanted to just quit the weekend job and focus on your studies as well, that's available for you to use however you want to. The interest rate is 7.99%, so the total cost for the entire year of taking this $5,000 facility out would be about $400. Dividing that up just by 12, that's $35, I guess, a month. So if you're comparing options or facilities or kind of loan options in the future, I think the biggest ones to be aware of are obviously the interest rate. A lot of interest rates are far above that. Application fees and setup fees is a big one I see a lot of people get hit with. And then facility fees as well, so any kind of monthly ongoing fees. This is also in conjunction with a platinum credit card that we have available for, again, penultimate final year students can apply for. A lot of people will actually utilize this in conjunction with the overdraft facility we have because of the 55-day interest-free period. Anyone here have a credit card? A student credit card? Yeah? Fantastic. So you're familiar with, I guess, how you can pay things on your credit card, they give sort of a period of time. If you pay off the credit card within that period of time, they don't charge you any interest. Does that sort of sound familiar? Yeah, great. We'll find a lot of people will actually utilize both in conjunction. So what they'll do is, you know, they'll pay for all those costs, they'll pay for the flights, they'll pay for any accommodation costs, they'll pay for all of that on the credit card. You get to start earning points on it, which is great. One day you might be able to upgrade a flight, and then you'll be thanking me for talking to you about this. And then when you reach the end of the 55-day period, rather than get charged, obviously, the interest rate the credit card will charge you, they'll actually draw down, again, down to the exact decimal point of what they need from the overdraft facility. So if you're paying interest anywhere, you're paying interest on the one where it's a lower interest rate of 7.99, and you've also utilized the 55 days. There's also travel insurance if you purchase complimentary travel insurance with the card as well, if you purchase return flights on the card. Another use for this credit card is their salary packaging benefits for anyone who's in final year. Is anyone in final year here in this group? No? Yes? Okay, great. So you might actually find that a lot of people will be putting a lot of expenses on their credit card, especially in final year, just because a lot of the hospitals, when you do start work, will actually accept credit cards as a salary packageable expense. I guess not entirely too relevant tonight. So I guess to just reiterate, we do have a student banking package. It is the transactional one account with the offshore overdraft facility and the platinum credit card. You don't have to take out both, you can take out one or the other. There are no application fees, and also I always say in there's no cancellation fees as well. We're not trying to lock you in or anything like that. We do operate specifically in this space, and we're really just trying to showcase our services and I guess get people aware of who we are. So myself, I'm Carmen, if I didn't say who I was already, and Luke will be out the front. We do have more information, we do have application forms, so come see us during the break if you have any questions. Thank you.
Thanks, Carmen. So do go visit the sponsors outside because I think they have more to offer than what they've just said as well. We're actually running a bit ahead of schedule, so I'm hoping the pizza's sitting outside, but if it's not, we're hoping the pizza's sitting outside.
They're out there.
Well, feel free to go outside. We
Because I am full of delicious ramen.
You missed Nicola Tate's
You could have me. The oldest secret chapter, mate. The old Patty Bessie. Yeah, you just call it. Let's adjust this.
the camera.
So we're gonna film the studio now, the chairs instead of being up there.
So for the first bit, some people will be going up to speak and some people won't, which will probably make it quite difficult.
Yeah.
You know, if it comes down to it, I will put the camera on voice.
Sounds good.
Thanks for coming along, Nick. I'm sure you're busy, so you're free to leave. No, I think Amy was right. I'll just really introduce her at the end, but but apart from that, nothing on my anything about it. So maybe hang around for this bit a bit. But apart from that, good to go. Yeah, okay. Thank you so
Yeah, there were. There's actually, if you go to the young website, and then you go to the
Yeah, I had a taste on it today, and then I think I have to take so basically what happened question though, I mean, the question is doesn't matter, like technically doesn't matter. Evidence is the specific content that you will treat based on the present customer is not necessarily the result. Say all of your treating at the moment, historically we're treating it, so someone had symptoms of so we're going to publish at the end of I was meant to, but then I decided to travel or something else. I know, I don't like public speaking. but it depends on how you measure it. We're going to put it in correlation. Sensitivity, everybody has sensitivity. So if they sensitivity for technical difficulty, for instance, if they sensitivity for disease activity, or sensitivity for expression, and also it implies that the presence then but that doesn't necessarily
Yeah, but you have like right now like your African kind of like you feel like show me. So I'm imagining Taylor Swift.
Now it's just like related to things.
I'm trying to write something down.
Yeah.
It was too tight. Hey Christian, what up, man?
Thanks for sticking around. We'll just get started. So, I mean, you're already hanging around very late, but so you're not hanging around even later. So we've got Jason Tan, who's going to be talking about his experience with Work the World, which is a program that you can use to apply and organise your elective, but he'll tell you more about it. Jason, did you want to come up and chat about your elective? Awesome.
Hey guys, thank you all for coming. I'm Jason in MD3 and I've been asked to share a bit about my elective experience with Work the World. And I also have a short PowerPoint presentation just showing some of the highlights of my trip. So for my elective, I wanted to go somewhere a bit different, somewhere where I could see a completely different side of medicine, and also somewhere that's flexible and that gave me time to travel and have a holiday as well. And so I chose to do my medical elective over the summer in Arusha, Tanzania, where I spent 4 weeks at Mount Meru Regional Hospital in the obstetrics and gynecology department and also the general medicine department. So this was definitely the most amazing and eye-opening experience that I've ever had. I was able to learn about medicine in the developing world, work with a healthcare system with very limited resources. So although the hospital is a large regional referral centre with over 450 beds and over 20 doctors, it is well underfunded. So there's no ECG machines, blood has to be sent to Nairobi for analysis, analgesia does not exist, so imagine childbirth without epidurals, without any pain relief at all. And oxygen is in short supply, so you can imagine how you're going to treat like pulmonary edema, heart failure, things like that. And so they do not have the luxury of any investigations, so all the doctors rely on history and examination alone. And I guess that was one of the most inspiring things, just to be able to see how the doctors use their clinical knowledge alone to carry out their duties and care for the patients. So a typical day for me would start with attending the morning ward rounds with my supervisor or scrubbing into the gynae theatre list. And on the ward rounds, I got to see many interesting cases and presentations that you would never see here in Melbourne. End-stage organ failures, poorly controlled chronic diseases, even exotic infectious diseases that you'll never see, such as leprosy, things that are endemic in sub-Saharan Africa. And then in the afternoon, the midwives got me involved in delivering babies in the labour wards, assist with things like neonatal resuscitation, and amazingly, I was also taught by the doctors to perform cesarean sections, which was absolutely crazy. So it was basically just like cut here, stick your hand in there, pull out the baby, and then I'll stitch everything up. So it's a really good experience. The best part of the placement was that it was really hands-on. Got to learn a lot of new skills, and I had the flexibility of working with doctors in many different departments of the hospital, as opposed to some elective placements where you might just be based on one department and you have to stick there for the whole rotation of 4 weeks. So here we go. They also have long case presentations, very daunting. And so with how I applied for the elective, I was actually really lazy and I only applied in September. And as it was getting close to the end of the year, one day I decided to go and Google medical electives in Africa. Work the World came up. They had the best website, they had spots available, and so I organised it and went with them. And given that Tanzania is on the other side of the world, and Work the World was great because they completely organised my entire elective, also provided accommodation and food. All I had to do was pay some money, upload some documents, and then just tell them which departments I wanted to be attached to, send in my objectives to the supervisor, and I was all done. So it was really great because they provided a lot of phone assistance, kept me up to date with things that I needed to hand in, provided resources to ensure that I was well prepared, and I knew what to bring along, such as equipment, because given that you go to a hospital with lacking resources, you have to bring basic things like pulse oximeters, your gloves, sterile gloves, surgical gowns, caps, scrubs, and all that. So yeah, it was great that they gave me that information in advance. Also, applying for elective cover was even easier. So I just went to the MIPS website, filled in a form, and received my cover the next day. It was really easy. Best thing is it's free. So the best part about doing this elective were the friends I got to meet from all over the world. So there are other medical students, nursing students, paramedics, midwives, and we all live together in the big Work the World house. We ate our meals together, went on trips together on the weekends, even after placements we'd go out. The house was also conveniently located right next to an orphanage, so when you want to get your kid fixed, you can just walk over and play with the kids. So, so that was great. So just to lend a hand. We also had Swahili lessons taught by a qualified teacher who just came into the house and gave us lessons. So that was really great, just to be able to interact and get more out of the culture and the experience that you want to get from an elective that's completely different. So there were also local staff on site that helped to organise activities for you on the weekends after placements, or just to help us if we had any problems So they would walk with you to the hospital, speak to your supervisor, arrange certain things, and even things like they'll go out and buy a SIM card for you so you could communicate and all that. So if you choose to do an elective overseas, definitely give yourself some time to have some fun. So I gave myself 5 weeks, 6 weeks, so 4 weeks on the elective and 2 extra weeks to go on safari in the Serengeti, climb Mount Kilimanjaro, swim with dolphins and relax on the beaches of Zanzibar Island. So very life-changing experience, really recommend it. So yeah, so if you want a unique experience and you wish to enjoy healthcare in a developing country, definitely recommend doing an elective in Tanzania. And also, if you're lazy like me and want someone else to organise your elective, then you can't go wrong with Dr. World. So, thank you guys. So Margaret's going to speak about MIPS and talk about elective health cover and all that. So, if you have any questions, feel free to come to me, and there's my email up there as well. Guys.
Thanks, Jason. So how does MIPS tie in with Work the World? Well, we offer you free indemnity, but you do need to be a student MIPS member to, of course, use the free indemnity. So if you're not a MIPS member, and hopefully you all know who we are, we're one of the medical defence organisations. So it's free to be a student member. If you're not a student member and you would like to have some indemnity with us, you just need to go online, fill in an online application form first, and then you can go ahead and apply for the elective cover. And as Jason said, it's really easy. Also with that, as Jason said, he added on a leisure portion to his elective trip. MIPS does offer you travel insurance as well, and that's all free. So even if you're doing part elective, part leisure, the whole trip is covered by the travel insurance. As long as the main objective of your travel is for the elective, then you'll automatically get travel insurance for the whole trip. There are a few other places that Work the World go to, so I've got a few books out there if you're interested. I'll just leave them out and just grab them on your way out. But yeah, if you're not a MIPS member, join up, it's free. You get free elective cover and you also get free travel insurance. What more could you want? Alright, thanks guys, see ya. We've also got a competition. You can win $1,000 towards your trip. So if you go to mips.com.au/tagged, there's a competition on there. There's a few questions you have to answer and you can win $1,000 towards your elective. Alright, thank you. Thanks, Andrew.
So thank you, Margaret, and thank you, Jason. I'm sure I'll probably be applying for free travel insurance for a couple hundred of unnecessary dollars. But we've got this student panel coming up. So basically we've got 6 speakers, all who have done different types of electives. We'll get them each to do a quick spiel about what they experienced, and then hopefully we'll leave enough time for everyone to then ask questions as to what you're interested in regarding their electives. Tom, I hear you want to come up first. So we've got Tom went to WA, and he'll tell you what he did.
Thanks, David. My name's Tom. I'm a final-year student at the Austin Hospital. Here to talk about an elective I did in Karratha, Western Australia. So some of you might be interested in doing an elective in a remote area. Karratha itself is a city of 16,000 people, about 1,500 k's north of Perth, just below the Kimberley. It's essentially a mining town, it's Rio Tinto's home base. And I spent 6 weeks there at the Nickel Bay Hospital, as well as the local Aboriginal Health Service. So I got to fly down to Onslow Hospital with the Royal Flying Doctor Service and have lots of fun like that. Why did I choose my elective? I actually spent a couple of weeks in community in a remote Indigenous community in Northern Territory the summer before. I thought I should do something else with my summer, and so I emailed UWA. And within 2 weeks they offered me Karratha, and I thought that was a good idea and went from there. So probably the best idea. If you are going to do a remote elective, I recommend you do your homework. Overall, I had an absolutely fantastic experience. I think the clinical experience you get in a remote part of Australia is nothing like anywhere else you'll get. It's nothing like anything else you'll experience. You see all those diseases you read in the books, rheumatic heart disease, fetal alcohol syndrome. In terms of the clinical experience, one of the big things about CRIPE was that we saw a lot of trauma. There was a very young population. It's also the synthetic weed capital of Australia. And so we saw a lot of people walk into metal things, hurting themselves, falling over while playing asbestos, and getting bitten by sharks and that kind of thing. One of the advantages of doing an elective in rural Australia is the costs are relatively low. I didn't pay for accommodation. If you tie your elective with John Flynn, often they'll pay for your flight home, so that takes some of the costs off too. In terms of disadvantages, sometimes it can be a bit isolating, sometimes it can be a bit boring, but it's certainly a great experience I had. And if you're interested, I recommend looking into it and asking lots of questions. And thank you.
Thanks, Tom. We'll get everyone up at the end. We'll get them all to sit up the front. You can ask them questions. But in the meantime, we'll fly halfway across the world. We'll get Trong to talk about his experience in Dundee, in Scotland.
Hi guys, yeah, my name's Trong. So last year, I didn't really know where I wanted to go. I wanted somewhere in Europe, an English-speaking country, so I just thought UK is good. I left it really last minute, so I missed out on the UMMSS applications. I mean, I would have done that, but that closed in April and May. I started applying in September, so that was really late. So most hospitals I applied to just knocked me back. They were like, well, we need at least 4 or 5 months notice. So I ended up emailing at least 30 hospitals. Around 5 people actually gave me a response, and 12 of them rejected me. So Dundee was the one that accepted me, so I was off. So University of Dundee is actually the #1 university in Scotland. It's an hour from Edinburgh, an hour from Glasgow. So it was pretty much the most amazing experience of my life. Got over there and pretty much by 3:30, 4 it's pitch black because it's middle of winter. But it was still fun in that I got to experience a bit of snow. And in terms of the elective itself, oncology, it was pretty much the best teaching I've ever experienced. Because I've had some amazing teaching at St. Vincent's, but over there it's nothing I've ever seen before. Everyone teaches like crazy, from the intern all the way up to the consultant. Even the interns, 2 months out into the job, they were just teaching me non-stop, telling me to do tasks, insert chest drains, take bloods. So yeah, fantastic experience. So I would really recommend you to head up to Dundee. But yeah, feel free to give me any questions.
So Dan was also in the UK, but he did quite a different thing, involving lots of planes and skies and things. So yeah, Dan.
Hey guys, I'm Dan, I'm an MD3 and I did my elective with the Essex and Hertz Air Ambulance Trust, and I promised the guys that first spoke about it I'd play a bit of their video, so.
The 670 reference will be Tango Lima 629. 4730.
So I'm kind of Essex accent starts talking. So the Essex and Hertz Air Ambulance Trust. So the trust itself is an air ambulance charity, so it's not funded by the NHS. It runs completely on donations. It serves the northeast of London, outside the catchment of the M25, which is the orbital, a big circle around London. And 2 ambulances, Hertfordshire and Essex, but you can literally go anywhere to the northeast. It operates out of 2 air bases, one about 40 minutes outside of London and the other about an hour and 10 minutes outside of London. and it's an air ambulance. It's expensive to run. It goes to critical situations. So high triage categories, anything that involves children that could be dangerous, and a lot of trauma and cardiac arrest. On the actual helicopter, there's a crew of a pilot, a doctor, a critical care paramedic, and an observer. Yeah. So in terms of what you do on the elective, I did 4 weeks with some time either side to travel. You're on base about 5 or 6 days a week. 2 or 3 of those a week are flying shifts. Flying shifts mean that you stay on the base. As soon as you get a call, you get to put on your red suit, put on a helmet, and run out to a helicopter and take off. It's pretty interesting. And then when you're not flying, you have base days where you're with the team when they're not on call-outs. You're helping with simulations, running things they call moulages, which I sort of know what it means, probably French or something. And you also work on a research project. So when you go over there, it's a requirement that for your 4 weeks you do some sort of research project. If you've never done research before, don't worry, neither had I. The team there are great. It's all consultant level doctors who help you do with research. It's got to do something with pre-hospital care. And in your final week, you present it to the team, and if they like what you've done, they might change the way they practice. So I went across with 2 other people, and the 3 of us worked on a project on using blood products pre-hospitally, so carrying them on the helicopter and stuff like that. And after we presented it at the end of the 4 weeks, they were like, hey, okay, we'll start using blood products. So it made us feel vaguely important. Every Tuesday they do a death and disability meeting where they review cases they went out to that were difficult and talk through what went wrong, what they could do better, and how they can improve things. The team love to teach, so you will get grilled on things whether you know them or not. But you do learn a massive amount, and you get to operate sort of the moulages. So the top photo, that's the dummy if you didn't notice. This was around Christmas, so that was Mr. Claus, an obese man who'd fallen through a chimney onto embers and was struggling to breathe. And so they ran through a 2-hour scenario of getting him out of the chimney, intubated, and then to the helicopter into hospital. So the flying shifts, which I think is the most interesting part, you can get anywhere from 1 to 4 calls a day. The helicopter will fly as long as it can see more than 2 kilometres and there's not ridiculous amounts of wind. If you ever can't get up in the helicopter, they have a trauma response car, which goes quite fast and is also quite fun. So if you ever do a night shift and you only get 1 or 2 hours of flying, you can also spend another 5 hours going out in a response car driven by a paramedic, which is terrifying. So you fly out and land at the scene, triage the patient there, and then take them to hospital of your choice, not your choice. And once you're at the hospital, you get to actually follow the patient through the sort of that instant pre-hospital care. So you can follow them to research, you can stay with them in research, to any scans they get. At one stage we flew someone to a hospital. That hospital didn't have the right facilities for what this patient turned out having, so we put them back in the helicopter and moved them to a different hospital. It's cool. So you have an observer role, but you can do sort of what you want. So you can help with tractioning, if there's lines that need to get in, if there's fluids or drugs that need to be drawn up. If you're confident and you show that you're proficient, they'll let you help out. So to get in, we just emailed Laurie, who you can find at Electives at eHeart, with a CV and a letter of why we wanted to do it. The elective itself didn't cost anything, but it is in the UK, so UK prices with the Australian dollar, which is rubbish. You might need to purchase gear like steel cap boots, and then hiring a car and accommodation can be tough because you need to get between air bases. We did at the end of MD2 because we've done an emergency sort of rotation, which made things a lot easier. And there's the photo I said I'd show of the 3 of us. Cool, thank you.
Thank you, Dan. So now we've got Al will come up and speak about his experience from Rwanda. And yeah, I think you got a couple of slides.
So I went to Rwanda. I tried to go at the end of, I tried to do all my life at the end of 2nd year, but I was pretty lazy and didn't get around to it. So I got onto it really early in 3rd year, in April. And so I got this email from the guy saying, yep, you can come. That was in April. I actually only got the final confirmation the day I was sitting in the airport waiting to leave. The emails to Africa took about a month to get a reply, and they say, yep, we're going to offer you accommodation, just email them back, and then they would email you back for another month. So I only knew they were going to pick us up the day we left. This is where we ended up. This is Rawagana in a small town in Rwanda. Lots of goats around, no paved roads at all. This is also the town. This is my accommodation, it's actually quite nice. We had no hot water, we had no power for most of the time as well. But most of the people lived in places like this. So no windows, no mosquito nets, mud walls, they'd cook everything indoors with the fire and the smoke in there. And they'd just walk from kilometres and kilometres to get to this hospital, which is where we were. And serviced about 250 beds, so quite large, but there's only 5 doctors and 3 interns there, and then me and my mate Arthur who came with me. And so I did neonates for most of the time. So this is the type of stuff I see every day. This one here was actually, the mother walked for 12 k's because she was really sick, and she had this baby on the road, a kilometre out from the hospital, and she didn't know she actually had twins as well. And this isn't actually the twins in another bed, but these babies are just sharing the bed. And the mum had the baby early because she had malaria, and subsequently this baby also had malaria. So stuff I got to do was like, see the cannula here, I got to put those in when the baby arrived. This baby had the feeding tube in, I got to put that in. Other things I got to do when babies would come in, this is their CPAP machine, so they don't really have high-tech equipment, so you just get a water bottle off the street, fill it up, and then attach the baby with elastic bands. And we also have to do things like surgery, and just pretty rudimentary things. This is the drug cabinet there. This is the bed they did all the cesarean sections on. And we got to do things when we were confident enough to do like the spinal anesthetics for the mothers, help out with C-sections, help out with thumb amputations, relocate shoulders. We also got to do ward rounds as well. This is all the family just hangs outside the hospital because they don't have anywhere else to go when their loved one's in hospital. So they just do all the washing at the hospital. It's got a little station for the washing. It's got a little stove so they can cook all the meals because there's no hospital food, so all the family cooks the meals for the people in the hospital. There's a lot of blackouts, so we use a headlamp a lot. This is our local store. Fanta was served hot or cold. Most of the time hot. But beer was served cold, and this is the local beer, 75 cents for a litre. And you also got some of the highlights, like Rwanda was absolutely beautiful and safe, and you got to travel. This is a river, this is a lake on the border of the Congo and Rwanda. And this here is the Congo here, but completely safe. It was absolutely beautiful countryside, and the people there are so friendly. Like, we broke down, my car broke down, and all the villagers helped. This lady gave us all the water she'd walk 15 kilometres to get. So we could fix this part, and we fixed it with the water bottle and my shoelace, which is quite good. And just a few things you need to consider when going is the cost. As usually was on my mind when I went. So flights were pretty expensive, $1,800, and things I didn't think about were like visas were $300, if not more. Vaccinations cost me $400. Everyone in Rwanda, 55% prevalence of HIV, so HIV prophylaxis is $290. And I've known friends who have had to use it as well, so you can get in some sticky situations. Malaria was rife. We were in the hotspot of malaria. Kids would come in every day with cerebral malaria. And cost of living wasn't too bad, about 500 USD for the both of us, which is like not very much. But I did apply for a few scholarships and got the meager one, which is $3,500, the global mobility one, which you guys can unfortunately get, which is $1,000. This one's also through global mobility, which is $1,200, and then I got the OX helpline, which was $6,000. And that's it.
Thanks, Al. We'll get Henry to come up next. He went to Brazil. Just hold on a sec while we get the slides up. Oh, pictures.
I'm an MD4 at the Northern. For my elective, I went to Brazil at the end of November last year, and I went to São Paulo City. So I was at Hospital das Clínicas at São Paulo, which is the largest hospital in Latin America. It includes 2,200 inpatient beds and with multiple centres regarding, they have their own orthopedic centre as a one building, and they have pediatrics in another building and cardiothoracic in a whole different building. The building I was based in is the Surgical Centre, Instituto Central, and that's associated with the Faculty of Medicine at University of São Paulo. So to get there, I applied through the website around April, I think, and from there everything was pretty easy. I just had to pay for the $300 deposit at the start, and they sent me the application form to fill out, sent that through with a bunch of documents, and by November everything was pretty much confirmed. So overall it was about $1,000 with accommodation and everything included. And there was always email contact, which was really good from the local exchange officer and national exchange officers. So a few things to watch out for is that visa. You need to apply early, get onto that early. Sometimes they require a new police check within the last month, so you just got to make sure the timelines are all sorted. Also, a few other things, insurance, which has already been covered, just make sure but that's pretty easy. They came back within a month, within a day when I applied with MIPS online. And also another tip is that most banks do give you provide you with travelers cards, so you don't have to take your own bank card over, which is great, so you don't lose it. Brazil is a country, well, São Paulo itself has a population of around 18 million, and up to 20 million in the São Paulo state. So hospital just kind of see basically every type of conditions. I was with anesthetics, and so I was based in the surgical center where they had liver, kidney transplants, neurosurgery, ENT, polytrauma, pediatrics, orthopedics, vascular, and general, all kinds. I was allowed to perform a lot of procedures, and one of the most memorable procedures. So the rest of my videos. So basically, I got to perform intubation, actually, which you don't, as far as I know, you don't get that many chances here in Australia. I was given a chance to perform about 5 of them and was successful on 3. That was quite amazing. And they also allowed me to offer me to perform a central line insertion, which I didn't get around to doing, unfortunately. So they were very, all the staff there were very happy for us to get hands-on, and well, for me to get hands-on and assist them in any way possible. And the staff that can speak English, they all taught me as much as they possibly can. And yeah, socially, having applied through UMMSS and UMMSS, they organised all my accommodation for me. I didn't have to do anything about that. accommodation-wise, if you don't speak Portuguese, this is probably the best way to go see Brazil, because you have a local student who can show you around, look after you, just making sure you don't get in trouble, basically. Because safety and security concerns are quite something that they always talk about over there. So they will look out for you. Even the doctors at the hospital will give you tips and advice on where to go and where not to go. And there were a few photos, I think, that's gone through. Yeah, so I took the chance to explore Brazil as well. So I went to Rio for New Year's and watched the fireworks from Copacabana, which was pretty cool. Also, just because I've stayed with the host, he actually organized for me to stay with his relatives up north of Brazil in Aracaju, which is close to Salvador or Natal, and that was all free accommodation for me. So that's a bonus they can get out of it. And I also spent Christmas with the host family as well, so they were nice enough to invite me over. So yeah, that's basically my elective. If there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer them. Thanks.
Thank you, Henry. Last but not least, we've got Janica, who went to Boston in America, and then we'll get everyone up to answer your questions.
Thanks, Andrea. Good evening, everyone. My name's Janica. I'm an MD4 at St. Vincent's. Thank you for having me here tonight. So I completed my elective in January at Massachusetts General Hospital in Boston, Massachusetts. I was placed with the vascular surgery team for 4 weeks during the entirety of January. First I'll run you through a typical day on my elective, and after which I'll mention some things about the application process and the costing. So when I first got there, I was given about 4 textbooks on vascular surgery as reference reading. I was given a pager and introduced to the team. I spent a day shadowing the fellow and was allocated 2 patients to follow and help manage until discharge. So at any one point during my elective, I always had 2 patients which I was involved, who I was involved in taking care of with the rest of the team. From the next day onwards, the typical day involved going to the wards at 5:30 in the morning, pre-rounding on my allocated patients, after which I present the patients to the fellow, discuss management and change management accordingly. By the way, the fellow is equivalent to a registrar here, attending equivalent to a consultant here. I'd then grab a quick coffee, reading up on the operations that I've been allocated to for the day. So on the electronic system, it has listed the surgeries, and your last name will appear next to the surgeries you've been allocated to. At around 7:30, first operation will start. Scrub in and be second or third assist to the consultant. They will teach me about the relevant anatomy, surgical procedures, and instruments they were using, and they were great teachers, very, very experienced. I believe the first vascular surgery unit in the world was at Massachusetts General, developed by Dr. Robert Linton back in the 50s, I think. So some responsibilities that they gave me in theatre was varied quite a bit, from making first incision to suturing, removing plaques from blood vessels. They pump out endarterectomies like crazy. Holding the vessel cross clamp, a bit of pressure there, and closing at the end of surgery. So at about 5 p.m. we do the evening ward round, and then return to the list. Surgeries vary in length, but I would usually finish up around 7:30, 9 p.m, depending on how many patients are on the list and how long each procedure would go for. It's also allocated to on-call shifts during the night, and a couple of weekend shifts here and there. But I was only called in about 3 times to see and assist in cases that the fellows thought were really interesting. And at the completion of 4 weeks, I had to present on a research topic that interested me and was relevant to contemporary vascular surgery. I presented to the unit, and it really provided a good opportunity to get feedback on not only presenting research, but how to go about doing research. Now onto the lengthy application process. To be eligible for the elective, you have to be going into your final year of med school. They expect that you've completed all your core rotations and specialist rotations as well. First, you need to apply and register online. So applications online will open up 6 months before the date, before the month you want to go for. Sorry. And then you list up to 15 preferences, and I think there's about 175 preferences is heap. So you can go to multiple different units, different hospitals, including Mass Gen, Brigham Women's, Boston Children's Hospital, and a couple of others, I think. So after you've registered online, you'll be contacted by the exchange clerk, and they'll give you tons of documents to fill out. So some of these were verification forms to be filled out by your clinical school dean, and you also need a letter of support by them, the academic transcript, evidence of health insurance and malpractice coverage. I understand now you have to organise that for yourself if you're interested. Also a vaccination form and a CORI form, which is equivalent to police check here. You'll then need to call the exchange clerk for an English proficiency interview. I got really psyched out by those two words, proficiency interview, but it was really relaxed, and just drop a few lines of good English and you'll be right. So after this, you can send all the documents in hard copy with $115 in an envelope, and they'll receive that. And if you're successful, you'll be contacted a month and a half before your start date. So that doesn't give you a whole bunch of time to organise your flights and accommodation. So you kind of have to be ready to pounce when you get that email confirmation. So the cost of the elective was quite significant. The elective itself was $4,250 for the 4 weeks. Flights are about $2,000 return, and accommodation, which I highly recommend that you book through Airbnb if you want to go to America, was about $1.5K, probably the cheapest alternative for accommodation. It was 5 minutes away from the hospital, so it was really great for those early morning starts to be able to just zip across. Also, day-to-day costs can be quite expensive because of our shocking conversion rate at the moment. So 3 sources of funding that I used was the Global Mobility Scholarship, $1,000, the OS Health Loan, which was $6,000, and the Bonjour Medicine loan, which was $10,000, that has to be paid back in September of your intern year. Together, these 3 were more than enough to cover the costs, but as you can imagine, I'm in a little bit of debt, but I have to pay that further on, so I'm not too fast. Also, if you're an Australian citizen, you're exempt from having to get a J-class visa, so I believe you just have to apply through the American immigration website, and you'll get your visa in print form. You just bring that to the airport, and you'll be okay. Boston is a lovely place, but very cold during that time of year, so pack warm. Great place if you like NBA, NFL, or hockey. Everyone loves their sports over there. The Boston Commons Park is a beautiful park, good place to relax. It's a university town, so a lot of historical academic institutions, Harvard, MIT, Boston U, some amazing museums. The Museum of Fine Arts is fantastic. Coffee is reputedly the best in America, but we're from Melbourne, so it's, don't need to bother. Boston is also popular for seafood, which is pretty great. And I mean, it's so close to New York as well. 2 weekends I zipped down to New York by bus, $50 return. So that was pretty cool. Some advice about the elective in general is that the 4 weeks, I consider the sub-internship. So you do have intern-ish responsibilities because American medical students complete the sub-internship before they go into their residency after med school. The roles are similar to intern duties, but you do have a lot of support from the nurses and the resident. The hours are long and they expect close to full attendance, so it's pretty intense. The nights on call and the weekend shifts do take getting used to. Overall an intense experience, but a really rewarding one. I learned a lot just by being in the hospital so much, by being in theatre so much. And I did learn a lot on the job from experienced consultants, fellows, residents. if you have any more questions, feel free to shoot me a message or email, which I'll pass on to Andrea. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Jono. So basically, now is your opportunity to ask as many questions as you want. Could we get like all the speakers to come down to the front? And basically, if you have any questions, shoot your hand up. I'll just quickly repeat it so that everyone online can hear. I'll also So has anyone got any questions for any of the speakers about any of their electives?
For the Tanzania one, I was wondering, was it overly safe, or how did you feel when you were over there?
So just quickly for everyone online, for the Tanzania elective, did you feel safe while you were over there?
Okay, so at first I wasn't sure how safe it would be. So at first I wanted to go to Kenya, but I looked onto the the Smart Travels website. Kenya wasn't as safe as Tanzania. Tanzania, surprisingly, in the touristy areas like Arusha or the capital city, Dar es Salaam, they have a lot safer reviews on the Smart Travels website. I asked Work the World as well whether this time of the year would be safe. From my experience, I did not really feel like it was a dangerous area at all. So maybe there's a bit of theft. You just need to be a bit careful about that. But there's no violence. It's nothing like that. So.
Any other questions? Yep.
Where did you find information about the scholarships and the bursaries that you could get?
So where did you find info about scholarships and bursaries? Who wants to answer that? Maybe someone who received one.
I just searched on Google how to how to get money to go travelling, medical school. I actually know about that DMP one. I would have applied for that as well. But yeah, so the main one I got was the Amigo one, which is your application. You have to just write. It just says tell us why you want to go to your place. It doesn't say what format it has to be in. So I just made a short video. And they give out six scholarships worth $3.5K. So that really helped me out a lot. And then Global Mobility gave another scholarship. But I don't know if you guys can do that anymore. Otherwise, yeah, a lot of my friends did the Born Journal thing as well. So $10,000 and you pay it back. But kind of things like this, just Googling scholarships, medical school.
Any other questions? Yep.
How do you go about organising an elective in places like in developing countries? Is it quite hard to communicate?
So how do you go about organising an elective in developing countries, and is it hard to communicate?
Yeah, it's very tough to communicate. So I sent probably I think it was 90 emails to countries everywhere, like Botswana, everywhere in Africa, everywhere in South America, and I got nothing back, for a year, just nothing back. And then I finally found some guy who knew some email, and I sent that guy an email, and he sent me back an email to another email guy. And then the email I showed was this guy from a hospital in this small town in Rwanda said, yep, you can come. But then it took him a month to get back to me after that, and then another month after that. And then when I got there, he wasn't even there. He left. It's very hard, but once you have a connection, I could easily contact them now because I have stuff like their direct emails, direct phone numbers, and things like that. I think that's probably the best way to do it. Otherwise, go through a company, but I didn't want to go through a company because I knew friends who had done it and sort of been ripped off going through companies. And so, but organising yourself is definitely a challenge. But you can ask for it, I can help you if you want.
I can help you if you want. Any more questions? Yep.
For the people who chose quite early on, how did you choose, I guess, where to go? Because it's in a bit of a wild card as to where you go if you're applying in March and you haven't really got much clinical experience in certain areas, I guess.
So I'm going to try and reword this. So if you plan your elective quite far in advance, how did you choose your elective, seeing as you've got a long time to go, and given that you've got minimal clinical experience, that kind of thing? Is that along the right lines? Who would like to answer this question?
So I applied in May, and it was for an elective and hadn't done any emergency stuff, but at St. Vincent's, and I know they don't have trauma, pretty much, and it's something I wanted to get exposure to, so that's why I picked it.
Maybe Jonica as well.
No, I did mine. I guess because vascular surgery is quite specialised, I hadn't been on a vascular surgery unit before, but I thought something that would be interesting to do would be a specialty that combines a decent amount of medicine and surgery. I've always been interested in surgery, so I kind of knew that surgery is something that I want to do as an elective. So I guess I'm not too qualified to answer this question, I'm really sorry. But I guess if you're not sure, perhaps something broad. But yeah, that's all I got. That's not very helpful.
Any more audience questions? Yep.
So if you apply to send out the 90 whatever emails you have to send out, what if you get more than one response? What do you do?
Yeah, well, I got two responses actually, so I lied, but one I think was just, they wanted me to pay a fair bit of money to come to the hospital in Botswana, so I wasn't sure what it was, but it's whatever you want to get out of it. So if you want to go teaching hospital, you have lots of academic experience and you choose that, but I would have just taken I just took pretty much the first thing that came. But just if the hospital has a website, it's a good start. You can look at what they do. But I made sure my hospital just had everything, wasn't specialised, so they did everything. Yeah.
So that was an answer to what do you do if you get multiple offers after emailing heaps of people. I've got a good question. So for people who went to non-English speaking countries, did you find that there was a language barrier, given that medicine's already niche enough as it is?
Yeah, so basically I was told that in Brazil only 5% of the population actually speaks English, and out of that 5% only 50% actually speaks fluently. So with regards to patient contact, if you don't know Portuguese, there's basically not a lot of communication with patients, but every order consent and all of that will be relayed by the residents that's looking after you. So that kind of thing, consent and that kind of thing usually is okay. And basically you also just try to stick to whichever residents or doctors can speak English as much as you can. Yeah.
I think we had a question from over this side. Yeah.
And for those of you who've already done one elective, are you planning on doing another one? And so feasible?
Okay, so if you've already done one elective, is anyone here planning on doing another one? And how feasible is that? Multiple offers for answers.
So when I was going from MD2 to MD3, I did an elective in the UK under colorectal surgery. So it definitely is possible. I think not only is it a good chance to get exposure to a potential specialty that you might be interested in, it's a great chance to travel as well. And a great opportunity to get finance to travel and complete your elective and have a good time.
Yeah, I'll second that. So at the end of MD2, I went local, so I went to the Alpha for ICU, which is an amazing experience. But then at the end of MD3, I thought I had to go overseas. So really that didn't really count towards anything because my Alpha elective was the official one, and MD3 was just one because I would get some money from grants and loans. So why not? So I encourage you to do multiple electives. especially in medical school. You never get this kind of opportunity to travel that much as you're a student, so just make the most of it.
It's hobbies as well.
Yeah, so I did an elective in London over this summer most recently. In terms of if it's difficult, I think technically you're only supposed to, or for us, you're only supposed to do one with the medical school. Thankfully, my clinical school would forgot to assign forms, so they just might sign that form. I think the important thing is like people have different goals and different reasons why they pick particular electives. And I think if you want to do one elective for one reason, then another elective because you want to go work in hospital in New York, I think there's nothing wrong with that, as long as you can make it work.
And just as an add-on to that, we did ask the medical school if you get more than one elective in your transcript, you can get a maximum of 2 per year. So that's assuming that, your clinical sub-deans and things have to approve that, but if anyone can actually find a way to fit that into their schedule, maximum of 2 per year. Any other questions? Yeah?
I have 2 questions. One specifically for Janica. I know some universities or some hospitals in America require the USMLE. Did you have to sit that?
No, so...
Just sorry, quickly. Question, Janica, did you have to sit the USMLE?
No. So
No.
I think there are about 8 medical schools in America that don't require the USMLE. A lot of them do require Step 1, and a lot of them have specific affiliations with certain universities within America and some out of America, but none is Melbourne Uni. So for us, if you want to go to America, I think there's about 8 that don't require USMLE Step 1.
And another question?
Yeah. Is there any situation or country or hospital or whatever where you would recommend doing a placement preclinical?
Are there any countries or hospitals where you would recommend doing it preclinical? So at the end of MD1? Can anyone speak to this? Or did anyone do it themselves?
It's hard to do one preclinical. I did one preclinical, but it's with a company called Gap Medics. That's the end of Biomed. That's the only one I can think of real. Have you heard of Gap Medics? Yeah, try that.
So at the end of ND1, I went to Sri Lanka and did a short elective there. I guess it really depends where you want to go and how keen they are to have you along without preclinical knowledge, and whether they require you to do 1 or 2 clinical years before they have you. So I went to the A&E there, and they were pretty keen to teach me, and it was good kind of precursor to the clinical years, I guess.
Any final audience questions? Yeah?
What does a typical email look like when you first approach the hospitals?
What does a typical email look like when you first approach the hospitals? Who writes model emails?
Mine was literally just, hi Laurie, I'm interested in taking the elective between these dates. Please get back to me with more information. Regards, Daniel.
That's very simple. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, mine was the same. Like, I emailed 30 hospitals, so I had a spreadsheet. And then as each one...
Sounds very organised.
So as each one replied, I would then say whether they rejected me or whether they said, booked out. So, to answer the previous question about multiple hospitals accepting me, I did get 3 hospitals accepting me, so I did accept all of them. Not realising that, I'll get more offers down the line. But in the end, with the UK, you've got to know that they require a Tier 4 visa, which is ridiculous to get. I mean, I paid $700 for that. And you need to actually be sponsored by the hospital to get the visa. And so two hospitals didn't actually want to sponsor any students and say, you can only come if you're an EQ student, so they narrowed it down. But yeah, just be professional, have an Excel spreadsheet if you want.
Any more questions? Yep.
Daniel, did you forget to pay your bill?
Maybe. We looked it up and we didn't have to get a special one. I think it might be because we weren't based out of a hospital. We were at an air base and then went to a hospital. So I could just get by on a study, like just that one you don't need to apply for because I wasn't there for 90 days or whatever. Or at least I thought I could, and I did, so.
Dan didn't need a visa. If you don't want to pay for a visa, do what Dan did. Anyone else? I think we're good. Okay, well, we're just past 8:30, so thank you everyone very much for staying. Just quickly, Amy is the electives officer for ARMS. She's sticking her hand up right now. Can you stand up, Amy? She also helped heaps with the organisation of the night, so thanks, Amy. And if you need electives information, Amy's the person to go to. And also thank you to my subcom, you've all done an amazing job.